All right, good morning, friends. Good morning. It's a beautiful day here in Ancient City Craftworks. A good day to be in the shop. So today we're going to try something completely new. I mean, absolutely everything about this is new. New format, new new content structure. Uh, so hopefully we'll get some feedback on how everything is going. Um, Also, want to warn everybody that uh, my internet's pretty sketchy today. So if you're having trouble either hearing me or seeing me, then please drop a comment down below as well. Um, I tried running a test yesterday and it wasn't successful. The results today are about the same. But I decided to go forward with this anyway and just see how it's going to work. So if you've been following along with the videos I've been publishing, you know that we are working our way through the Teacher's Handbook of Sloyd. And I really encourage you to get your own copy of that. There'll be links down below after the live where you can either buy a copy or you can get a free copy, online copy. It's a free online copy. And from the internet or archive.org. It's a great organization. It reads just like a regular book. You flip the pages. The only thing is you're doing it from a computer screen rather than from doing a handheld. Personally, I like the hard copy, but um, whatever works best for you. I really do encourage you to get that book, read it, because the goal here is to take a brand new woodworker, particularly a child, a younger woodworker, and introduce them to the skills needed to go from making basic projects all the way to a full furniture piece. So now the goal of Sloyd is not to make carpenters. It's not to make fine furniture workers. There's a lot of other benefits to it, such as uh, developing confidence, developing physical motor skills, developing problem solving, uh, things like that. So what we want to do today is take some of the previous exercises that we've done, which were just skill building exercises, and turn that into an actual project that we want to do. So what I thought we would do is work on a basic set of coasters. Coasters are easy to do. We can, no complicated cuts or anything like that. We're going to start off with some pre-dimension lumber. But the reason I thought this might be a good project for the absolute beginner. Now remember, this is targeted to somebody who has never done a woodworking project before, particularly with hand tools. If you've never done a hand tool project before, um, this might be a good option to get you into the craft. So there's no complicated cuts. We get to use the majority of the skills that we've done before. So what are those skills? Well, first of all, there's rip sawing. So we're going to use pre-dimension lumber, so rip sawing is not going to be part of it. Cross cuts. Okay, we are going to do cross cuts because we'll cut these down to length. Then we get into our planing, doing bevels or rounds like that. We could do that. Chisel cuts, the paring cut, the perpendicular cut. We can bring a lot of that into play here in this particular project. So I also thought that we can do it with multiple species of wood. So I've got a piece of poplar and I've got a piece of oak. And this would allow the student, the new woodworker, to see not only the differences in grain direction and things like that, but they can start getting a feel for the different species of wood and how difficult it is to work. So this is just a piece of poplar and this is a piece of red oak. Both of them came from the big box store. So nothing special about that. So what do we need to do to get started? Let me put this off to the side. Well, the first thing we'll want to do is dimension our board. And this is a piece of 1/2 inch by 4. So it's actually 1/2 by 3.5. And I thought we would just take our combination square. Okay, so this is a very simple way to get the new woodworker involved in dimensioning. All right, so we can mark it here. Okay, mark it there. Because we know these edges are square already, we can just put our mark across there. After that, we'll probably want to break out something like a bench hook. You've seen my other bench hook. If you've seen my other videos, this is a new one I just put together, and it's got a couple of, the design is exactly the same. It's just a piece of 3/4 inch oak here. We got a cleat on the bottom to secure it to the bench. I made this top piece a little bigger and bulkier, and I also added these neodymium, is that how you say that? Neodymium magnets, thinking that, especially for the new woodworker, this would really help to help guide them. So, you know, you've seen me before struggling with particularly keeping the pull saw perfectly vertical. This will help. Now, is it going to be perfect? No. Is it going to guide the cut and prevent you from making a mistake? No. But it is going to hopefully give them, you know, a guidance. Now, I'm left-handed, so I've got the magnets on, well, if I'm doing the pull stroke, the magnets will be on this side. All right. If you're right-handed, you'll do it on this side. So the way this thing is designed, and I particularly like having a narrow bench to be able to do this, is that you can use it with the traditional Western style saw. This is a rip saw, so you'll get the same type thing. Or you can do it with the Japanese saw. Now, I do recommend the Japanese saw for the beginning woodworker, especially children, for a couple of reasons. It's especially if they're doing rip cuts without anything to break them. It gives them a place to put their other hand, and that's where most accidents tend to have. Extra hand gets in the way. So, especially for our brand new woodworkers, those little hands, we want to make sure that they've got something guiding them. It's actually not as big a deal when you've got your bench hook, because they can grab the bench hook, and that keeps that hand steady. All right, so let's move that chisel out of the way for a second, and we'll take the bench hook, we'll put it on here, we'll line up this piece just like this. All right. Pull saw has rip teeth, which are the little ones, cross-cut teeth, which are the finer ones, and now we put in here. Now, I do have 2 magnets, and the reason I went with 2 magnets is to help keep the alignment a little bit better. All right. So that's just not quite cutting on the line. We move that in. I have no idea what the sound is going to be like as I'm sawing. I'm hoping it's not too rough for you. But by the way, you're going to see the entire process. I'm not going to shortcut here. I didn't pre-make any of these pieces. I'll actually be glad when I get my other bench legs made. make this bench a little bit more stable. You see there's some wobble in there? That is what you absolutely don't want. You don't want any wobble. You don't want any rocking, especially when you're dealing with the kids, because you don't want anything that's going to cause. Now, having the magnets in there does slow the cut down just a little bit. After we have it well established, so as we could move it away. All right. Let's see how we did. Huh, okay, look at that. That is probably the squarest cut I've ever gotten with a Japanese pull saw. So we're square in that direction. And we are a little bit off. Can you see that? All right, so the magnets helped keep it going straight this way. That was great. Still a little bit off. We're going to have to see. Thought I had this nice and square. And yes, it is square. That is square all the way down. All right. Well, friends, it helped. It certainly helped. Was not as good as I originally thought. Okay, but we're going to be planing that up, and that's going to help us. So what do we want to do now? One of the cuts that we did recently was the pairing cut, perpendicular cut. So first thing I'd like to do is take off these corners with the perpendicular cut. How much do we want to take off? Well, again, as we're dealing with a brand new woodworker, we're probably going to have to give them some kind of guide. I don't know. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? So what I really want is to see the 45 across there. So we can go in that direction like this. And of course, we want these 45s to look the same. So how are we going to, I'm going to have to think about that. How do we make sure that they do come out even? Right now, I'm just doing it by eye, but I don't think that's really going to cut it for a brand new woodworker. All right, so we go down here. Now remember, with the perpendicular cut, you got to brace this, and you want to come in here. Now, I don't like having flesh anywhere close to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my clamp here. All right, now we got to be careful because this could possibly get in the way. But now we can come in and start making our cuts. Up there. And I did touch my chisel up to get it a little bit sharper. All right, so let's spin this around. Come in with these cuts. So there, I couldn't even get, by the way, all my cameras connected. I have one camera that I use for close-up shots, and I couldn't even get that connected to the Wi-Fi this morning. All right, nice little chamfers there. That's nice and easy. take this and put it aside. So now what I thought we would do is come in with our bevel cuts, and now the user is going to get to see the difference between planing straight along the grain versus planing across that. And we know, as we've talked about this before, that the difference is when you're going with the grain. Let's start off with the grain. You can usually run that straight, but if you're going across the grain, you're probably going to have to skew your plane. Any plane would work. You can do a smoothing plane. I'm thinking that, especially for children, a block plane is probably better. You can there's actually some modern block planes that are fairly small. All right. So what did we forget to do? What did we forget to do? You know what we forgot? If you do, drop it in the comments down below. What we forgot is to mark off the size of the chamfers. Now again, for a new woodworker, you probably need to give them some kind of guide to work with. You know, I like to just use my finger. That's something I picked up from Paul's Cellars. So we're going to go here. And we'll do that all the way around. That's actually going to make a pretty big chamfer. But this will give them some good practice using combination square. And see, I'm designing this as we go. I did not, you know, I had an idea in my head, but I didn't have any real design. All right. So we've got this here. We're also going to want to come this way. You know, I don't know. Do we teach children this? Should we teach children this? I actually find this easier than putting a combination square to it. All right. Let's get this back in the vise. All right. Okay, we're to that line. We are nowhere close to that line. Man, is that squeal coming through? I hope not, but that's awful loud. That is awful loud. You know what I'm going to do? Just a little touch of wax. See if that helps it any. All right. Chamfering these corners actually helps blowout over on these sides. All right, so This is actually where we're most likely to get the blowout here, is because now we're going across the grain. Block plane makes this easier than a smoothing plane, but it's still, you may have to angle your plane just a little bit. But so far, so the reason I kind of like this is it's a simple project. It really helps, I think, feed into the students the feel of the grain, the way things work. But this is such a simple project that I really think the kids could. I think it'd be a really good project for helping them develop confidence and really more of a love for woodworking. All right. Let's go ahead and do this other side here. Going with the grain. I mean, across the grain. We're not going with the grain. This right here is the factory saw cut, so it is much rougher than the other side, which we cut here. All right, getting a little bit of resistance and skew the iron just a little bit. You know, and there are some jigs that we could put in place that might help the kids get a perfect chamfer. And I thought about using those, but then I got thinking, no, before we introduce too many jigs, I think we need to let the kids know really what the problem is. If you just put a jig in there and they never see the issues, and let's go ahead and get this one down. Now we're going with the grain, so this one's nice and easy. Throwing off some nice curls there. And let's go ahead and take this one down until the pencil marks actually disappear. Yeah, I like that better. I like that better. All right, so we have used the perpendicular chisel. First of all, we used the cross cut, then we used the perpendicular chisel, then we used the beveling cut on the, go ahead and just take it all the way down until the lines disappear. Almost there. Almost there. Now remember, this is not designed to be fine woodworking. This is designed to help your beginning woodworker, particularly a child, make something that can be used. So one of the key points of Sloyd is that they are supposed to make, or you as a woodworker, or the child that you're trying to get started, is to make useful objects. That's why a lot of times with Sloyd, it's associated with spoon carving, because that carving, of course, spoons can be used all the time. All the time. All right, now that we have our basic shape, basic pyramidal, what do you want to call that? Here's where we can now come in with our horizontal paring stroke. So see, we got a little bit of blowout there. We can come in with our chisel and just do some really nice even strokes to clean this up. All right. And then come over here. Can you see this? Let me go to a different camera. Maybe you'll get a better idea of this. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on the camera or not, but you see how rough that is? That is the factory saw. This is our saw from that we did. So you can see even that's a lot smoother. But a finish like that is not something you want to go with. So all right, so this is where we come in with our, again, our paring strokes. Nice, simple. And let's just clean that off. Now, this is more of a knife cut than an actual chisel cut. But if you think about it, there's really not much different between a knife and a chisel. They're both very sharp blades. We're going to go oblique. We'll just clean that up just a little bit more. All right, that looks good. That looks good. All right, clean that up. Still, we should clean that up, even though that's much better than the factory saw marks. Because of course we're using just a finer tooth saw here. Did you see what? Did you see my mistake? I don't know if you can see it from that angle, but this is something that you got to teach the kids. And when you're making a mistake yourself, you need to admit it. As we're cutting, I'm letting this hand get in front of the blade. Now, the chances of the blade coming over towards me, because I'm actually pushing it away in that direction, very slim. But just don't take any chances with that, and don't let your kids take any chances with that. Now, this is a case where you can let the kids be as detailed as they want, or just let them get, because this first project, it needs to be fun. It needs to make them feel like they accomplished something, but not so difficult that it frustrates them. Okay. We all know what it's like to be a beginning woodworker. We all know that feeling of that first project that looks like crap, quite honestly, and it can be discouraging. All right, so we want to give the kids something simple enough to do, but challenging enough to make them feel like they accomplished something. Now, we've said before that we really don't want to get into sandpaper, but this is a case where I think it would be a good idea. And the books all say that in the early stages, why in the world did that thing flip? I don't know if I can unflip it. Well, that camera has died. I think maybe I've lost my connection with the second camera. And again, I apologize, but this internet has just been, it's been a mess today. So if these live streams are going to be a regular thing, we're definitely going to have to do something about that. Okay, so pretty close here. We got a pyramidal shape. So the next step, if we were going to follow out this project, we would actually make 4 of these. So we would have a coaster set. So that would be a project number 1, is to do 4 coasters out of poplar. And that's the reason I got this particular size piece of poplar. You can make more coasters, and then there would be a coaster stand that went with it. That's going to be the next project, the next full project. So the next iteration of this project, and I think this is a real good exercise for the kids, is to very quickly move up to a piece of oak. Let's see if I can get this other camera back online here. Hang on just a second. All right, that camera's done. Can't do anything with that. Can't get it connected to the internet without spending a whole lot of time. So we're just not gonna do that. So we're gonna make the best we can with our webcam. So what do? We go back in, do the same thing we did before. Mark the width using the combination square. Come in here, mark the length, and then we can come in and mark across. Take out the bench hook. I like putting that into the vise. When it's on this side, when it's on that side, I go the other way. So we're putting it in this direction because let's see what happens when we do the crosscut saw. Okay, again, now this one is a push stroke, not a pull stroke. The magnets are giving me some resistance. So, maybe not, because now I am pretty far off that line. How did that happen? All right, let's take a look at that. Yep, I am out of square. So in this case, my jig didn't help me very much. So I'm gonna have to verify this, make sure that this is in fact square. I checked it before and it seemed to be square, but that just did not help me cut across the line at all. Not at all. All right. So what are we going to do now? Just like we did before. Let's come in with the clamps. And we're going to mark our corners. Put our all right, let's get the coffee out of the way. Even with now we're in the red oak, which is certainly a little bit harder, we can still get some nice, whoops, see there? Whew. That's tough. That is some hard wood. This is kiln dried red oak. Whew. I don't think a kid is going to be able to do that. I mean, I can do it, but I got to put quite a bit of my weight into it. So this may be. Uh-oh. All right, one more side to do. That poplar certainly was a lot easier, which is what we would expect, which is exactly why we're doing this, to help the kids really understand the difference between poplar. So, I don't know, let me know what you think. My original idea was to do 3 of these, one in pine, one in poplar, one in oak. Let's not make these chamfers nearly as big on this side. Give it a little decorative edge without really let's start going across the grain. This is where we're more prone to tear out. Oak in particular is a very, very splintery wood. Nice straight grains. Come in. Okay. First few strokes made almost no impact. Then we start getting a little bit more. Gotta be careful there. A little bit of tear out, but still doing good. All right, that one looks good. We'll come over, we'll flip it over to the other end grain side. And then we'll do the long grain sides. Looking good so far, looking good. Almost there. This one in particular, this wasn't as important in the poplar one, but here, giving it a little bit of a skew helps quite a bit. All right. Now we can flip it around, do the long grain sides. Long grain oak just, it planes so nicely. And by nicking off these corners, you know, we don't have to worry about chip out nearly as much. There. Almost there. Almost there. Whoops. Almost knocked my chisel off the bench. That would have hurt. Especially if that edge ended up on the hard floor. All right. All right, look at that. That was good. All right, now the end grain here, or the end grain is much cleaner than it was on the poplar. And our saw cuts really weren't significantly better than the than the factory cuts. But that's okay. I think we still come in here, register the chisel on the back of the wood. Okay. Did I say register the chisel on the back of the wood? That doesn't make any sense now, does it? Register the back of the chisel on the wood. And then you can do your paring oblique cuts across the grain. Right. Now here, you might want to clean up. Now that this end grain here is better, you know, this is oblique, so this is a combination of long grain and end grain, so you're getting some of the same roughness that you had before. So you can come in here with your chisel and clean this up the same way you cleaned up the regular end grain. All right. Now let's get this cleaned up a little bit. So as we're finishing up, we now have the two variants, poplar and poplar and oak. And quite frankly, at one of the box stores, they sell red oak. At the other box store, they sell white oak. So it really does not matter. And the only reason I got it from there is because both box stores are within just a couple of miles of the shop. Whereas if I go to an actual hardware dealer, which I would get better quality wood and a better price, that is considerably further away, and I just didn't have time to do that. All right. Yeah. What kind of finish? What kind of finish should we put on here? We got a couple of options. You know, especially with oak, do a wax. You know, one of my favorite is you know, I make my own wax. You can buy the wax yourself, but I make my own mineral oil and beeswax. That's all it is. It's food safe. It's not extremely durable, but you absolutely, you cannot mess it up. There's nothing. And when the finish kind of wears out, you can get another one. Hang on. Let me get a paper towel. All right, so you can finish this in mineral oil and then come back in with a wax. That's going to give you the most penetration, or you can go straight to the wax and oil combination. Just put that in there, let it soak up, get on the end grain a little bit. Just, you know, it's food safe. It's not going to hurt the skin. You know, so there's a lot of other finishes out there. The only downside of this one is it's not a really durable finish. You are going to have to come back in later, probably reapply it. But it's certainly a great finish for that you wouldn't have to worry about them getting into chemicals, having chemicals on them, and things like that. You know, let the wax dry. Come in about an hour later. buff it up, and you're done. Really nice finish on oak, walnut, things like that. Doesn't do nearly as much for poplar. So if we were to come in on the piece of poplar and do the same thing, you know, almost no change in the color. It is going to darken it up a little bit, but it's just not really dramatic. Poplar is just not a great choice when it comes to finish. Wood, but it's a light hardwood. Okay. I don't know what all those beeping noises are about. It's beeping at me, but it's not showing me any messages. All right, friends. That is going to wrap it up. Again, I apologize if the stream itself was clunky. The data just was not. The internet connection just isn't good. And when I look at the stream itself, it looks like it's freezing up on me and things like that. So again, I apologize for that. Hopefully we'll be able to get that fixed in the future. Tell me what you think about this particular format. Do you like having the live streams? Do you like seeing me do the project from beginning to end? Really would like to know what you think about this. It's going to wrap it up for today, friends. Remember, there will be links down below for hard copy, Kindle copies, and free copies of the Teacher's Handbook of Sloyd. You know, please, if nothing else, read the free one, and so you get an idea of what we're doing here. All right, friends.